Hey brother, Stuart Matola, men's relationship coach here. Hope you're having a kick-ass day. And I want to talk to you in this video about, how you can transform your wife's complaints into what I call loving requests. And so that you can get the love that you really seek, the love, the trust, the security. Now, I want to tell you up front that some guys have some objections. They're like, I don't want to do all that work. Well, if you're that guy, I don't want to, dismiss you, but I do want to challenge you. What you're doing now, is it working? Okay. If not, then check this out. Okay. It's not super tough to do the work. It's often really hard to know what that work needs to be. And so I'm going to make that really simple here in this video and show you some flips from a client of mine who was doing a bunch of bad strategies, which most guys do. And I'm going to ask you if you do those things as well in this video. Bad strategies. So I'll tell you, like Jack, well, first off, let's see if you're in the same place where he was. And I call him Jack for confidentiality reasons. And Jack was, he was in this place where, he was taking on her complaints. He was actually letting them penetrate him. And her complaints weren't just about him, but it seemed like she was negative in general. Like, this was a hard woman. Like, he was like, yeah, that's how her parents are with her. And that's how she grew up. And so she's replicating that. And, she would complain about their kids, how they weren't helping out around the house. She'd complain about the fact that he wasn't around a lot, and he was a CEO of a very successful company. And so, work was super demanding. But he also had been aware that he was trying to show up more and more at home, and it didn't seem to make a difference. And he still got complaints about how he didn't do this right, he didn't do that right, or he wasn't showing up enough. And it just felt like, he felt like her punching bag. So do you have a situation where you have this feeling like Jack, like she's against me? He said those words really powerful one day when we were talking. I was like, whoa, that's succinct, that's to the point. So do you ever feel like your wife or partner is against you? Okay. If so, you're in a similar situation as Jack was. And I'm going to tell you how, he flipped the strategy on there to get a much better outcome. And, another thing was that there was a specific incident, and this makes it really real. And, like other complaints that he took on from her, he felt small, he felt invisible, he felt picked on, he felt hurt, and he felt angry. And what do you think builds up from that? Resentments. And I'm going to talk about what's underneath resentments in a moment here. But there was one specific situation which I was like, whoa, that's harsh, dude. And it was a situation where his dad had died. Okay. It wasn't completely sudden, but, they had a sense that it might go that way. And in the aftermath, all she could talk about is how she didn't want to deal with his mother. How his mother was just really difficult, and she had fears of his mother just, getting into a space of, picking on her. So what an irony, the bully fears bullying. And he was just like, what the fuck, like, what about me? You have some sympathy and compassion for me with my dad. My dad just died, like, hello. And he felt such a level of self-absorption in her regarding her complaints about his mother. So I'll talk to you in a moment about how that turned out. So the bad strategies, the things that Jack was doing that were really causing him even more grief, and one in particular was trying to change her. So explicitly trying to talk to her about his challenges. And so we always think, oh, well, let's talk. It's all about communication. If we can talk, then we can fix things. Well, I'm here to tell you, often it's not just about talking. Because talking means that you are going to get her to agree with you on what the problem is in the first place. Well, you know how that goes. Good luck with that. I'm sure you've tried that. Have you ever tried that? Of course you have. What guy hasn't? Okay. So, and then the second thing he was doing was he was denying his own needs. He was judging himself for even having needs or emotions. He had them, and he wasn't even aware of what they were because, as a typical dude, he'd stuff them down. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm like a whiny little boy here. I don't want to be like that. Okay. And the third thing he'd do is he would react instead of responding. So she would get critical at him, and, he'd have this, like, I don't want to say false pride kind of shock. Like, how can you talk to me like that? Etc. But it didn't serve what he was ultimately going after, which was love, connection, and acceptance. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that we identified to be accepted, connected, and protected. And those were his needs and wants. The flip that I helped take him towards was, number 1, don't try to talk about it. Okay? Instead, take action. Take action on yourself. And this had to do with the second part about him judging his needs and emotions. Like, let's get those out there. Let's get those in front of you so you can now start to work with them, claim them, accept them, and go after what you want. Because underneath his resentments, and a lot of guys are just stewing in the resentments, like, she won't do this and she won't do that. And one of his resentments was, my feelings, wants, and desires don't matter to her. So the unmet need under that for him was to be accepted, protected, and connected. And we'll add one more, respected. So we started doing work for him to get this all out in front of himself and to reclaim it within himself. So for him to actually live between himself and himself, and I'll break that down in a sec, what he sought from her. So how could he be accepted and connected? Well, he could accept and connect the fact that he had desires, wants, needs, and emotions. Okay? So we did some work on that explicitly. How could he be protected? He could learn to have a little bit of a thicker skin when she was coming at him with complaints and not take it all on. And that was easier to do once he did the work of being more accepted and connected within himself. Okay, he had more resources, he had more bandwidth, and he wasn't like giving it all over to his wife, saying, as if it was her responsibility to make him safe. He took responsibility for his own safety, which is what the protected part's ultimately about. And he took responsibility for the fact that he wasn't trying to get all his emotional needs met from her. He was actually, sometimes it would just be as simple as pausing during the day, taking a few breaths, noticing what was alive in him, whether it was sadness, fear, or anger, and connecting with it. And then it would just pass when he learned how to do that skill. And so it was super cool to take him into these processes so that, he could move into action and not just try to talk it all out. And so what happened is he stopped reacting and he got much better at responding. And what do you think happened for her? Her whole nervous energy started dropping because suddenly she was with a man she could feel safe with. Okay. The complaints went down. Well, why do you think that happened? Because he wasn't getting embroiled in them. He wasn't wrapping himself into you're wrong and you can't talk to me like that. And, it takes 2 to tango, right? So instead he'd listen kindly and lovingly. And he'd say, yeah, that's really hard, sweetie. I see that's hard. So he wasn't taking it on. So in a lot of my videos, I talk about don't pivot on her, pivot on you. Okay. And I want to be clear as far as the emotional needs and wants within yourself. It's not that you're going to fulfill all those within yourself, but you're going to fulfill what I call a modicum, like a small percentage. You're going to plant that seed within yourself to actually become what you want with her, so that she can start to see that and say, oh, this guy's safe. Because most of the time women are complaining because they just want to be heard. They want to get it out. It's kind of a catharsis. They don't want the dude to fix it or make it better, and they really don't want, in Jack's case, for him to take it on and make it his. Okay. So he stopped doing that because he learned how to get safe with himself. He learned how to connect with himself. And he learned how to, not make everything about himself. Okay. So he went to a place of, she's against me, to, holy shit, I was against me. It wasn't all her. I was against me. That's crazy. And as he started to align with himself, become his own best self advocate, he was able to do so in a way where he could start to talk to his wife about his wants and needs. Because when we started talking, he said he was at a 1. I said, give me a 1 to 10, like a scale. 1's like you're maxed out. You're just like, I can't do this anymore. 10's like you're happy, you're fulfilled. And I'd say within 4 to 6 weeks, he went from a 1 to a 6. Okay, 6 was great. 6 was I'm safe, I'm protected, I feel accepted and connected. A 6 was I feel safe and I feel protected. Like I don't feel that danger anymore. I don't feel like she's against me. And as things stabilized, he didn't feel like he was unprotected. He had taken responsibility to protect himself, and sometimes that meant, yeah, healthy boundary. Like, yeah, I'm letting these complaints just, being bounce off my shield, and that put him in a place, along with connecting with his emotions and needs, where he's actually able to start to um, elicit loving requests. Well, what do you really want, sweetie? I hear you're not happy about how the kids are showing up at school. I hear you're not happy about A, B, or C. What do you really want? I'm really curious. I really want to know because I love you and I care about you and I want the best for you and I want the best for us. But boom, that brought him up to an 8 or 9. 10 was just like loving, fulfilling, amazing relationship. And, I'm going to be straight up. He didn't reach that point, at least during our work together. And I believe that was in part because she had some trauma in her background. And as much as she had learned to get safe and protected and connected with him, there was still a part of her that held back. And eventually he was able to communicate to her his challenges with his dad's passing and how she wasn't there for him. But he did it in a way where he was making requests instead of complaints as well. And, well, what do you know? As he had softened to her, she softened to him. And she's like, wow, I really see that. Yeah, I didn't show up for you. I'm so sorry. How are you doing with your dad? And that was a little bit later. So there was some healing there. And it was a beautiful thing. So learning to turn complaints into requests, learning to act to take charge of yourself and how you show up in relationship instead of expecting you can just talk about everything and agree on the problem and agree on the solution, as well as learning not to judge your own emotions, needs, and wants. These are the 3 things, along with a ton of other things that we're doing in my men's relationship school. I'm going to leave a link below. And one of the coolest things is connecting with other guys who are doing this work so you don't feel so alone, man. Because at the end of the day, you need a team to support you. And I want to help you with that team. If you're not a group guy and you want to just contact me one-on-one, I'll leave a link below. If you dug this, please like or follow me on this platform. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel to the lower right. And please click that little bell to get weekly notifications as I go live on these videos every week. Hope this was helpful, man. Keep showing up. Use wise, good strategies. And I'm rooting for you. And I hope to see you on one of the calls soon. Have a kick-ass day. Bye.